Good afternoon, Meridian business community. My name is Sean Evans with the Meridian Chamber of Commerce, and today we're very pleased to bring you a new event that we're delivering to you virtually, the Meridian Chamber of Commerce Virtual Town Hall. This event is being live streamed on Facebook and YouTube and will be available across all of our social media platforms and website for later viewing. Today's guest is Sheriff Stephen Bartlett of Ada County. Welcome, Sheriff.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Sheriff Bartlett is the 38th Sheriff of Ada County, Idaho, where he runs the state's largest and most dynamic law enforcement agency. The Ada County Sheriff's Office has over 750 employees and a budget in excess of $80 million. Bartlett is responsible for managing the 1,224-bed Ada County Jail, Idaho's largest, and the community supervision of about 3,500 offenders. His duties also include policing unincorporated Ada County and the cities of Kuna, Eagle, and Star, and the management of Ada County's Emergency 911 Dispatch Center. Sheriff Bartlett, who was appointed to his position in 2015, is seeking his second term in November. Sheriff Bartlett is known for his collaboration skills and working closely with other law enforcement agencies and community partners to solve problems. Sheriff Bartlett has worked as a 911 dispatcher, jail deputy, patrol deputy, detective, canine handler, polygrapher, crisis negotiator, patrol sergeant, jail sergeant, lieutenant, chief of Eagle Police, and administrative captain over his 20-plus years of law enforcement career. Bartlett and his family live right here in Meridian, Idaho. Sheriff, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to get together with our citizens and businesses in Meridian and share a little bit about the exciting things that are happening at the Sheriff's Office and how we connect together. And so when you made mention of this opportunity, I think it's a great fit for us to have that chance. And so thank you for the opportunity to be a part.
Thank you. The Meridian Chamber of Commerce represents over 600 member businesses here in Meridian, and that represents about 15,000 employees across those businesses. Many of these businesses are small businesses, and they definitely depend on law enforcement to keep the peace and to be able to provide the services that's needed to keep this a safe community. I'm going to just jump right into some questions here, Sheriff, if you don't mind. The growth of Treasure Valley, and especially Ada County, is something that just about every business we talk to is concerned about. Many agencies are struggling to keep up with the demand the growth puts on their public services. How is the Sheriff's Office positioned to handle this growth that we're experiencing?
I apologize. We may be having a little bit of technical difficulties, but I didn't hear the last part of your question. I just heard that the businesses are struggling with the growth.
Okay.
And what was the question specifically for me?
Yeah. How is the Sheriff's Office positioned to handle this growth that we're experiencing in the Treasure Valley and Ada County?
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to echo the fact that I love the city of Meridian. It's where I chose to set my roots and raise my family. And just before we came on the air, I was sharing that I've been in the same home in the city of Meridian for just over 18 years now. And so what happens, whether it's education, public safety, businesses, and all of those things that relate to Meridian have a direct impact on myself and my family. And so I appreciate being able to talk about a number of these things. The Sheriff's Office and law enforcement is no different than any of your 600 plus businesses that you just spoke of, and the things that impact those 15,000 employees. And so as we navigate our conversation, it's very important that we sit down with our business community and our residents to figure out how we maintain that. But we're struggling with some of the things that all businesses are struggling with right now, and that is finding really great employees to fulfill the needs that we're having. A lot of our businesses and the Sheriff's Office and law enforcement are trying to keep up with the demand right along with every other business. And so that recruitment and retention and hiring right out of the get-go for us, bringing in that high quality, that high level of education and like-minded staff is at the top of our priority, because we feel strongly that we've got to have incredible employees that deliver great service to our community, and keep all of that running right up front. And so I would say hiring, retention, and getting great staff is one of those things that all businesses, no matter whether you're a business of 3 or 4, or you're a business like us at the Sheriff's Office of almost 800 employees now, trying to figure out what that looks like with this incredible population boom happening here in Ada County. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about it, but the second phase of that is how do the Sheriff's Office, how do we as a community make sure that our crime rates stay low while we're fighting this incredible population increase, not only in Meridian, but across the county, as we navigate the next 3, 5, 10, 15 years, because it has a direct impact on us in public safety and us delivering services in our neighborhoods or on our roadways and everything else that goes along with that. So an ever-growing and challenging question and problem that we all need to be at the table working to solve together.
Sheriff, you mentioned 800 employees. Of that 800 employees, how many of those are law enforcement officers out in the field, patrolling, serving the community on a regular basis?
So we're about 50%. Out of the, we're just under 800. And so if we just use the numbers 400, we're about 400 commissioned staff. And for us, the term commissioned staff means somebody that is patrol, detention, or court certified. The people that you see in our tan uniforms, pushing a patrol car, working down at the courthouse, or in our detention facility, that makes up about 400 of our staff. And then on the second half of our agency, we have about 400 professional staff. And that is all of our staff that works at our dispatch center, our driver's license offices, our mechanic shops, and all of our court functions as well. And so it's about 50-50 for us here at the Ada County Sheriff's Office.
Sheriff, one of the things that's recently come out in the news is that Meridian is constantly being recognized as one of the best places to live. And Money Magazine just recently recognized Meridian as number 3 in the nation as best place to live. And one of the criteria that they first look at before they even rank you with the other things in that criteria was crime rate, low crime rate. Can you talk a little bit about the crime rate that that we see here in Ada County, and what are you seeing as the trends? Are you seeing that fluctuate? And especially now that COVID maybe has a little bit of an impact on people's perception and how they're approaching things.
Yeah, it's why we all live here, right? It's there's very few places in our nation that can brag about those crime rates and the quality of life. It's, again, why I live here. There's how many places can you ski at Bogus in the morning and play a round of golf in the afternoon because of our climate and the things that everybody is moving here for. Time and time again, we hire employees or have interactions with people that have never been to Meridian, Idaho, have never been to Boise, but they go on the website and Google exactly what's important to their family. Low crime rates, great education, lower commute times, and they point their finger and they locate Meridian and Boise, Idaho on a regular basis. And that's a really good thing, But the challenge that you ask is talk a little bit about the crime rates and what's going on with that. I'm happy to sit here in front of you and say that we have done a great job with our crime rates here in Ada County, not only specifically to the city of Meridian, but unincorporated Ada County, and then the 3 cities that we patrol as well, Eagle, Kuna, and Star, have some of the lowest crime rates in the state of Idaho. And that's not by accident. Yes, we have an awesome law enforcement staff working really hard to make sure that those rates continue to decrease. But I give strong kudos to our community members and our business community, because it's about a partnership. We in law enforcement would not be able to do what we do without the strong relationships we have with our community members day in and day out, that have really taken on the concept of, if you see something, say something. And it's evident by the number of phone calls that we take on a regular basis into our Ada County Dispatch Center, which is one of the nicest buildings in the city of Meridian. If you haven't had an opportunity to come by and look at our dispatch center, it sits right in the heart of downtown Meridian, and we're happy to be a part of that business community as well. But so you look at the population increases, right? Depending on the chart or the graph that you look at, anywhere from 11 to 17% increase in population over the last 3 to 5 years. And we here in Ada County have, over the last 3 years, been able to lower our major crime rate, our violent crime, over the last 3 years. And that speaks well to why people are moving here and why a lot of people are choosing to make Meridian their home, not only for their residents, but also for their business and their employees as well. And so kudos to all of you here on the virtual town hall. Thank you for that relationship. It's not by accident. And so as we navigate these next few months and these next few years, it's critically important for us in law enforcement to continue to foster and maintain those relationships so that we can all be the recipients of those great crime rates.
Sheriff, crime rate as low as it is and great community to live in, there's still need to put people in jail, to incarcerate the offenders. Is the current Ada County Jail meeting your needs? And if not, what is needed?
That's a great question, and that's one that we've been actively involved in, and it has been one of the major topics of conversation since I've taken over as sheriff. And so if you think about the location of our jail, it's really landlocked. Our jail was built in 1977, and when you say, is the current jail meeting your needs? The bottom line answer to that is no. We have outgrown the current facility time and time again over the last couple of years. There have been many days where our population in our jail exceeds the number of beds that we have. And it's important to talk about not only the bed space, but for us at the Ada County Jail, we talk about the type of bed space. So being able to house inmates that should be housed together in the appropriate level of security. And that's really where our jail has surpassed its ability over the last 5 to 10 years. We've worked really hard on trying to get away from a brick and mortar jail and really transition that over to a virtual jail where we can get people that don't need to be taking up a bed out into the community where they can be doing house arrest or one of our alternative sentencing options, where it could be a GPS monitoring or working on one of our options in the community, and get that free up that bed in our jail for those hardened criminals or people that need to be in jail, those people that have a propensity for violence and that you and I know need to be in jail instead of in the community. And so as we've navigated that over the last couple of years, we've told a number of stories in the media. We've talked with our business community. We've talked with our criminal justice stakeholders and partners to identify other ways that we can free up some of these beds in our jail. And we're just at our max capacity and then some. And so over the last couple of years, we've been working with our county commissioners to find the right solution and be able to add on to our current facility. And I'm extremely proud of our current county commissioners that have taken that project on and listened to our needs. And over the last couple of months, our county commissioners have taken a bold stand to allow us to move forward with adding an addition onto our jail. And hopefully by August of 2021, we will be breaking ground on a new addition to our jail to add approximately 300 new beds to our facility, which will allow us, that's the question that a lot of our citizens are asking is, if we add the 300 beds or if we add on, what will that look like and how long will that give us to live in our current facility? And we estimate that will give us approximately another 10 years of leverage on our ever-aging facility. And so I want to say thanks to our commissioners for allowing us to make that happen.
Okay. Sheriff, your office manages the 911 dispatch. In the last 8 months with COVID, people staying home, definitely seeing some crime rates drop. But what is the dispatcher seeing as maybe an increase in the calls or the needs from the community of the sheriff's offices and your services?
Yeah, so our dispatch center does an amazing job. If you think about this group of men and women, they dispatch for all of our law enforcement, our fire and EMS partners here in Ada County. And so on average, our dispatchers are handling approximately 500,000 calls for service into our dispatch center on an annual basis, with about 130 or so thousand of those calls being 911 calls. What we've seen with the COVID response is we have had a drastic increase, especially after we have an announcement by one of our mayors or after an announcement from our Central District Health, where that becomes a heightened point of conversation. And we have a lot of neighbors or people that are calling into our dispatch center to report wrongdoing or people in our community not wearing masks when they should be. And so we're really trying to work with our Central District Health office to create a location or a phone number so that those phone calls aren't taking up the precious time of our 911 dispatchers. Not that those calls are not important, because they are, but one of the things that a lot of people are unaware of is in our dispatch center, we only have a certain number of dispatchers available at any time. Those same dispatchers are handling non-priority phone calls into our center. They are also answering all of our 911 calls. And then equally as important is they handle all of our in-progress calls. So once a dispatcher takes a call for service and our radio traffic is such that we have our officers handling emergency calls for service, those dispatchers are assigned to those calls, which really limits the number of people. And so from day one of COVID, we have encouraged people to call the Central District Health number, for them to call their city officials and their city hall numbers that they have, and we can get those calls transferred over into the law enforcement side of the house. We will make those numbers available for you and make sure that we have a link sent over to you so that you have that direct call into Central District Health as well.
Thank you. Driver's license. The Sheriff's Department manages our driver's license. And one of the exciting things that we've heard recently is that there will be a new driver's license office opening in Meridian soon, so that you're not having to go to the one location down on Benjamin to get your driver's license. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and when we expect to see that?
That's one of those conversations that we're really excited about. Our driver's license staff do an amazing job. And over the last few years, through this population boom, our numbers have skyrocketed at our driver's license location. There were some days over the last couple of years where we were having a little over 1,500 people coming to our Benjamin driver's license location to get their license. And it was turning into quite the wait time. We were struggling with some incredible software failures on the ITD side. I'm happy to report that ITD has worked incredibly hard to work with us as sheriffs who manage the office to make sure that we could resolve a number of those issues. And to date, we've been able to do that. So it's become a great partnership. Out of our COVID experience, it's really been a blessing on a couple of fronts, because during that same time frame, we've been able to transition our driver's license office to an online appointment process, which allows you to now go to our website, click a link, and sign up for an appointment to do your driver's license. You can do that for a 3-month period, where you can go out 3 months and schedule your appointment and get an appointment like you would for anything else. Show up at the driver's license office, and within 15 minutes be in and out of our office and be on your way. And we've heard nothing but incredible positive comments about their experience at driver's license. And so right now we're back to doing about 900 to 1,000 appointments a day via our online process. But it's also allowed us to work with our county commissioners and explore a second driver's license location, which they approved last year. We have located a second piece of property. We are finalizing the documents with the assistance of a number of our Meridian businesses to get that accomplished. And we anticipate being up and running in our second driver's license location right downtown in Meridian by August of 2021. We're already currently working on getting our staff hired for that location, and we will have that up and running. And so what a blessing to our citizens on the west side of our county. Some of our cities, Star, Kuna, can drive to downtown Meridian and get their license. And we're really excited about that. During our crunch time, when we were seeing these astronomical numbers at our Benjamin location, it's one of the things that we did. We went out and polled our citizens. We did heat maps of all of the locations that we were seeing an increase in our number and where they were coming from. And the right answer was to locate our next office out in the city of Meridian. And so we're happy to provide that service.
Thank you, Sheriff. I know there's a lot of people excited about that opening up here in Meridian. Recently, during some of our candidate forums and discussions with the county commissioners and the candidates for that office, many of our local government entities that receive tax dollars to support their services have decided not to take the allowed 3% increase, mainly due to wanting to help everyone during the impact that COVID has had and the ever-increasing issue on our taxes. How is the Ada County Sheriff's Department budget being impacted this year, and how will that impact your future needs? You talked about a budget in excess of $80 million.
Yeah, so the Sheriff's Office budget this year is just a little over $86 million. We make up a large percentage of the county budget, and I'll answer that question in the same way that we present our budget. We believe in being an extremely transparent organization. We make sure that each year during our budget presentation, we come back to the county commissioners and to the community and to the citizens that we serve, and we feel strongly about the fact that we should be able to answer to anybody what we've done with the money that our taxpayers have provided for us. And are we spending their tax dollars wisely? And I feel incredibly proud about the work that the men and women of the Sheriff's Office do day in and day out. And that's built directly into our budget presentation. And so not only do we do it in our budget presentation, but on our website, we keep up with a document that we title Measures That Matter, where any of our citizens can go onto our website and see how their dollars are being spent here at the Sheriff's Office. So I think it's a worthy and critical conversation that we all have and continue to have as our next few years develop. We're having them right now, but we welcome them with our community. Across the nation, it's no secret that the relationship between law enforcement and community in some of our areas of our country is strained. And we have to be honest enough with ourselves, with our business community, with our citizens to say, why is that? And what does that look like in Ada County? Is that happening in Ada County? If so, why is that happening? And if not, let's also have that conversation why it's not happening here. And so it's directly tied into our budgets. And this year we presented our budgets to the Ada County Commissioners to let them know, in order for us to maintain the current level of services that we're delivering, that our citizens expect from us, and for us to maintain the low crime rates that we're so happy to enjoy here in Ada County and in our cities, is that money necessary? And so our county commissioners came back this year and said, we absolutely would want the level of service that we're currently receiving to be maintained. So our budget was kept whole for this current year, but we welcome that conversation, and we'll be doing that every year moving forward, explaining what it is that we need each year in front of our commissioners. And so that's kind of my role as the elected sheriff. I feel very strongly that I need to speak on behalf of the relationships and the community need. I am not the spending authority. That is the role of the county commissioners. But it is my job to stand in front of them to say, here are the things that we need to make sure that our community stays one of the safest communities in the nation. It's makes me proud to hear you talk about those statistics and some of those articles, because what we're doing is working.
Yes. Thank Thank you, Sheriff. Just a reminder of our audience, you can enter comments as questions in the Facebook Live event, and we'll get to those here shortly. I've got one more question for the sheriff to expand on, and then we'll come back to a question that's come up in our comments. Sheriff Bartlett, Boise and even Meridian this summer saw its fair share of protests and counter protests, some revolving around the call to defund police. How has the Ada County Sheriff Department reacted to these protests, and how has it been different here in Ada County and the Treasure Valley than maybe what you've seen in the national news in some other cities?
Yeah, so I kind of backtrack into my last question, my last answer. I think that's a critical question that we need to be asking ourselves every day as law enforcement agencies, and one that we've been asking here at the Sheriff's Office for quite some time. I'll backtrack to 2015 when I took over as sheriff. We had the opportunity to participate or apply for a grant through the John and Catherine MacArthur Foundation. If you're not familiar with them, they're one of the largest, if not the largest, philanthropy organizations in the world. And in 2015, they issued a challenge out to all law enforcement agencies in the United States to participate in a challenge called the Safety and Justice Challenge. And the challenge particularly was, if you as a law enforcement agency were willing to come to the table and open yourselves up into how you do business and how you interact with the community and how you provide jail services, and the list went on and on and on, they would be willing to pay for ongoing initiatives to ensure that your policing practices were state of the art and were the right practices with your community. So we were one of 191 agencies across the country to put in for this grant. And I'm happy to say that we were one of 20 agencies across our great nation that were selected. And for the last 5 years, we've been actively participating in this proposal, in this challenge that allowed us to receive private dollars where no taxpayer dollars were spent, to ensure that we're on the cutting edge of law enforcement trends and technology in our community. So just that alone allows me to answer a number of those questions. Through this process, we filleted ourselves open to say, who are we and how are we doing and how do we do it better? And out of those experiences and relationships and conversations came some of the things that our nation is pushing for in policing now. But here at the Sheriff's Office, we've been ahead of that curve for a number of years now. And so to answer your question, protests, yes, we're seeing them around our nation, and it's devastating to see the chaos in some of our communities, but we're not seeing that here. And my answer to that is because we got ahead of that and we figured out who in our community we should be interacting with and who we should be sitting down with. Too many times we try to manage crisis while it's ongoing, while it's in the throes of it, and neither side is willing to come together to have a conversation about right or wrong and set aside our differences. But here in Ada County, at the Sheriff's Office, we've been able to be working on those now for 5 years, and not just 5 years, but for a long time. We sit down with our stakeholders and community members. I sit down with our members of our Black community down at the Black History Museum. We sit at each of our mosques and sit down with our religious organizations across our county and our different faith-based groups to say, what is it that you need from a law enforcement agency? And what do we need as a law enforcement agency to make sure that we have that relationship so that we can continue to provide that high level of service when it comes to public safety? Why is it not happening here in Ada County? I think because each of the sides know each other. And long before we get out of hand, we can pick up the phone and dial the phone number to somebody and say, can we sit down and talk about this before it becomes something bigger? And the day we take relationships for granted, and the day we don't continue to do that as a law enforcement agency, Portland and Seattle and some of these other agencies are very quickly going to head this way and become part of that community that we all want to avoid. And so I challenge our community. We're talking with Meridian today in our business community. As much as this is a conversation for us in law enforcement, it equally is a conversation for our community members to say, let's not give up talking. Let's not give up planning. Let's not give up making sure that the things that have made us who we are and that we enjoy every day, let's never forget how important those are. It's why it's the beauty of elections and our great democracy in our country. If we don't like it, we need to make sure that we're at the table doing our part to make sure it gets fixed, or it, in our case, in Meridian, it's maintained.
Thank you. Sheriff, we have a question. Maybe you can help clarify. This comes from one of our viewers on Facebook. And it goes back to the driver's license. Why isn't the current DMV on Fairview taking this task on of the driver's license office?
That's a great question. Thank you, Robin, for that question. The DMV office on Fairview, we actually were in that office a number of years ago as a sheriff's office. And so I just want to go back to the Constitution and the state statutes that stipulate that DMV is handled by the assessor's office and that elected office, and driver's license is the responsibility of the elected sheriff here in Idaho. And so as that office grew, it was a very small office with just a small number of stations in it. And as our numbers were growing, we had to expand the number of stations that we had, and they just didn't have that availability. And so we condensed our location over to our Benjamin location. We were able to open an additional 13 stations there. And so now the next step is to open a larger driver's license office in Meridian. So purely a restricted space location. And so hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, Sheriff. Another question that's come in via email is about the transportation challenges that we're having in our community. The question is the Sheriff's Department services seeing a decline in response times due to the traffic congestion? Recently, Meridian did a survey of its citizens, and traffic congestion and roads was one of the #1 concerns that they had.
Yes, answer to that in its simplest form is absolutely congestion and traffic on our roadways is impacting our response times from emergency services, not only in law enforcement, but fire and EMS as well. Just last week, I had the opportunity to be on a Compass phone call or Zoom meeting, and that is the exact conversation that we're having. In many of the forums that I've been able to sit down with our community members and business members, that is also at the very top of the list of a number of our conversations. We have got to do a much better job in government, whether that's working with ITD, ACHD, our city councils, our business community, our county commissioners. When we get together and we start having conversation about these high density housing developments that are going into a number of our areas that are not allotting enough parking spaces for the number of residents that will be living there, from a law enforcement perspective, we're setting ourselves up for failure right out of the get-go. You can go to a number of these apartment complexes, not only in Meridian, work your way through Boise, South County, some of our other areas where it's hard for us to even drive down the street because vehicles are parked out on both sides of the road, out on the paved area, but they're not zoned for no parking areas. It's tough for us to get fire trucks down through there. Just this last year, we were dealing with an area in South County where our West Ada School District refused to send buses down one of the roadways because there was no way for them to get down the road to pick up students and be able to turn their buses around. So my request out to our people that are granting approvals for some of these areas is, before they get granted, can we have a bigger conversation about what that looks like for police response, fire response, and so on. Just to your question on response times, you don't have to be a scientist or an ACHD engineer to recognize that we're putting more and more vehicles on our roadways, but we're not giving them anywhere to go to, especially in Meridian. If you think about, let's just take Eagle Road, for instance. We've now put dividers into many of our roads that have made it, for the most part, we can't get a fire truck, an ambulance, or a police vehicle into oncoming traffic. To help make our roadways a little bit safer, we've tried to limit the number of head-on crashes or T-bone crashes that we were experiencing on a number of those roads. So we've put these dividers in, but we've not given the drivers access to get off the road. So when you have emergency lights behind you, a lot of our citizens are saying, I know I'm supposed to pull to the right side of the road, but I can't get there. So we've got to come up with a greater conversation amongst all of our city, county, state, local jurisdictions on how do we make that happen. As far as Ada County specifically, on our response times, over the last 3 to 5 years, we've seen almost that in minutes. Our response times have gone up 3 to 5 minutes in a lot of our areas just on emergency responses because it's taking us longer to get there.
Sheriff, thank you very much. With the final few minutes that we have, is there anything else that you'd like to share or say to the Meridian business community while we have you on here today?
Well, my first thing that I would like to say is just thank you for the opportunity to be here and chat about issues that are important to you, the citizens of Meridian, and our businesses. We want to be involved. We want to be at the table. Just last week, I had the chance to be on one of these calls with our realtor groups, where they came together, and very similar to the same conversation that we're talking about today, what's important to business leaders and business communities. The same is important to all of these people that are moving into our neighborhoods, and they wanted to really have the information so that they could share it with people that are wanting to move here. All of our crime rates are out on our website, and I would encourage you to go to adasheriff.org and visit our website. A lot of great information is there. It gives you an opportunity to provide feedback not only to myself but to our agency, and we really want to hear from you. Something that we make available to our businesses and our citizens is just that accessibility. If you want one of us from the sheriff's office to come and talk about public safety or crime trends, or how to set up a neighborhood watch organization, how to get involved in Big Brothers, Big Sisters, all of those things that we're involved in here at the sheriff's office, we would love for our Meridian business community to stay connected to all of that here at the sheriff's office. And so from my neighborhood watch and what I shared with our realtor group was, as we see our violent crime lower a little bit each year, we all are seeing an increase in our property crimes, where we talk about businesses, residential homes, and vehicles being left unattended and left unlocked. My request, and I know your Meridian Police Department would echo my statement, if you get out of your vehicle, please lock it. That's one of the major crimes that we're seeing, not only in Meridian, but across our county and all of our cities. In the evening time, a lot of our juveniles are walking around our neighborhoods and flipping door handles and just checking to see if a vehicle or a home is unlocked, a shop, a shed, garage. We could lower our crime rates drastically here in Ada County if we locked our vehicles, closed our garage doors, and locked our businesses at the end of the day. And that would help immensely. Why that's important is we live in Idaho, and many vehicles in Idaho have weapons in them, and a pistol, a rifle, a shotgun. And it just becomes routine to us. But why that is so critical to us is the last thing we want to see are pistols and guns in the hands of people that should not have them, and especially some of our juveniles. And so do us a big favor. At the end of the day, take your gun in your house, lock it in a safe, make sure it's out of reach of children, but make sure you're locking your vehicles at the end of the day.
Thank you, Sheriff Bartlett. And thank you for joining us today, and thank the Sheriff's Office for sharing with us this important information in our virtual town hall. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You all. Thank you. And remember, this will be available on all of our social media platforms for later viewing. Thank you and have a wonderful day.